Hello lovely viewers, you are most welcome to our channel Poetry Online. In this video, we shall be presenting to you the literary devices in the poem The Breast of the Sea by Sly Cheney. Kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get updates on all our new videos. Once again, let us assure you of a very interesting discussion. Get ready for this lesson. In Sly Cheney The Breast of the Sea, we come across the following literary devices. Personification. Personification is a type of figurative language in which non-human things are described as having human attributes. Personification helps writers to create more vivid description, to make readers see the world in new ways, and to more powerfully capture the human experience of the world. In the poem, we come across the following lines. After our bloody century, the sea will groan. It groans as though it is alive and suffering under the weight of history and pollution, symbolizing the burden humanity has placed on the natural world. Her belly will not yield new islands. This evokes an idea of the sea as a womb that is capable of reproducing or giving birth. But what is described in the poem is one that is also filled with toxins and unable to yield new islands, reflecting the inability of nature to regenerate under human exploitation. Throbbing, the sea's breast will console some exiles. This line suggests a physical, almost human-like quality to the sea, as if it has a heartbeat, a pulse that reflects the life force or the struggles of the world. Once the sea's belly has washed itself clean of our centuries' blights, the image of the sea's belly evoked the idea of a vast all-encompassing space, that is, a container of history, nature, and humanity's actions. The sea's breast will console some exiles. The maternal image of the sea's breast speaks to the idea of nurturing, rebirth, and the potential for healing, even in the face of overwhelming trauma. Drifters on a tide moon. The moon is given human qualities of tiredness. The tide moon also symbolizes a fading hope or diminishing prospect for these drifters who have no place to call home and are perhaps wandering aimlessly without a sense of purpose or direction. O sea, long-suffering mistress. The sea is addressed as a long-suffering lover or caretaker, implying a relationship between the sea and humanity that has been marked by enduring pain and sacrifice. Allusion. In literature, an allusion is an unexplained reference to someone or something outside the text. Writers commonly allude to other literary works, famous individuals, historical events, or philosophical ideas, and they do so in order to lay associations and meaning from these sources onto their own work. Writers use allusions to effectively convey big ideas or refer to stories that would take too long to explain, deepen and enrich the meaning of the text by adding a layer that may not be obvious to all readers, and inviting readers to reflect on the similarities between what has been said and the reference material. In this poem, we come across the following. Noah's monologue. This is an allusion to the biblical story of Noah's Ark, which involves the sea during the Great Flood. The reference connects the sea to significant historical and religious moments that have shaped humanity's view on the world and nature. The Middle Passage's cargo. This refers to the transatlantic slave trade, during which enslaved Africans were transported across the Atlantic Ocean in inhumane conditions. The reference underscores the sea's connection to suffering and human exploitation. Darwin's examination of the turtle ship. This is a reference to Charles Darwin, the naturalist who famously studied the diversity of species, symbolizing the sea as a place for scientific curiosity and discovery. The remains of the Titanic. The wreckage of the Titanic, which lies in the sea, represent tragedy and death. Its mention emphasizes the sea as a final resting place for human disaster. How the coelacanth was recaptured. The coelacanth, a prehistoric fish rediscovered in the 20th century, symbolizes the persistence of life and history, but also its fragility. The image of the silicon's recapture suggests that some parts of history can be brought back or rediscovered, but others, once lost, are beyond saving. Rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is a figure of speech in which a question is asked for a reason other than to get an answer. Rhetorical questions usually challenges the listeners, emphasizes an idea, raise doubt, or demonstrate that a previously asked question or stated point was obvious. In the poem, we come across this. But do you, O sea, long-suffering mistress, have the balm to heal the wound of her children? Hand to fold the axe, alluvial river flowing into you? This rhetorical question calls into question the sea's ability to provide healing or solace. It also draws attention to the broader issue of how suffering, particularly that of marginalized people, can be healed or alleviated. This questioning tone invites the readers to reflect on the possibility of healing and the enduring impacts of historical trauma. Alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sounds, most often at the beginning of words. In the poem, we come across the following. Despite a broken back. In this line, there is a repetition of the B sound in broken and back. Her hands, swimming like horrors of red corals. Here, there is a repetition of the H sound in hair, hand, and horrors. Fragments of a fractured Sheila. Here, there is a repetition of the F sound in fragments and fractured. Imagery. Imagery in any sort of writing refers to descriptive language that engages the human senses. Imagery is essential to nearly every form of writing, and writers use imagery for a wide variety of reasons. 1. It engages readers. Imagery allows readers to see and feel what is going on in the story or poem. It fully engages the reader's imagination and brings them into the poem or story. Imagery is interesting. Writing without imagery will be dry and dulling, while writing with imagery can be vibrant and gripping. In the poem, we come across the following. Children of East Timor wish it so. This evokes images of displaced and oppressed people, highlighting the yearning of the people of East Timor for a better life, or perhaps a return to their homeland. The remains of the Titanic. This creates an image of the wreckage of the great ship, a haunting visual image of destruction and tragedy resting in the depths of the sea. Her hands swimming like horrors of red corals. This image of her hands swimming like horrors of red corals evokes an eerie and settling picture of suffering and helplessness. The reference to red corals brings to mind the violence and pain that still permeates the sea, as corals are often symbolic of beauty, but here are used to represent the grotesque. Metaphor. A metaphor is a figure of speech which concisely compares two things without the use of as and like. The comparison created by a metaphor is not meant to be taken literally. Rather, metaphors are figurative. They create meaning beyond the literal or dictionary meaning of words. In the poem, we come across the following. The fractured Sheila serves as a metaphor for the fragmented memories and stories that cannot be preserved, emphasizing the loss and decay of history over time. The sea, in this case, acts as a metaphor for both the repository of history and the eraser of it. The sea as a woman. The most prominent metaphor in the poem is a comparison of the sea to a woman. The sea is personified as having breasts, a belly, and throbbing in ways that attribute human qualities to it. This metaphor is powerful as it imbues the sea with both maternal and tragic aspects, suggesting that the sea is a vessel that endures both nourishment and suffering. The sea's breast. This metaphor conveys the idea of the sea as a nurturing force capable of offering solace to the exiles and displaced individuals, while simultaneously suggesting the weight of historical and environmental trauma. The shredded garment in the poem is a metaphor for the woman's dignity or sense of self, which has been torn apart through trauma and abuse. The sea's belly. This evokes an idea of the sea as a womb, but one that is filled with toxins and unable to yield new islands, reflecting the inability of the sea or nature to regenerate under human exploitation. Irony. The sea as a source of comfort and suffering. The sea is portrayed as both a source of solace, its breast will console some exiles, and a site of history's darkest act, that is to say, slavery, pollution, and destruction. This irony underscores the duality of nature or the sea. Symbolism. Symbolism is a literary device in which a writer uses one thing, usually a physical object or phenomenon, to represent something more abstract. A strong symbol usually shares a set of characteristics with whatever it is meant to symbolize, or is related to it in some way. Symbolism helps readers to visualize complex concepts and the central themes and track their development. It affords writers the opportunity to communicate big ideas efficiently, effectively, and artfully. It invites readers to interpret a text independently rather than being directly told by the author what they mean. It adds emotional weight to the text. It conceals themes that are too controversial to state openly. In the poem, we come across the following symbols. Toxins in the sea. The toxins are symbolic of human-caused destruction and pollution. The sea, once a source of life, has been contaminated by humanity's actions. The coelacanth. The coelacanth, a prehistoric fish discovered in the 20th century, symbolizes the persistence of life and history, but also its fragility. The image of the coelacanth recapture suggests that some part of history can be brought back or rediscovered, but others, once lost, are beyond saving. The children of East Timor. The children of East Timor could be seen as a representation of marginalized and oppressed people worldwide who are fighting for justice, freedom, and dignity. The broken back symbolizes immense physical pain and suffering. The mention of Sierra Leone in the poem. Sierra Leone is a country in West Africa that has suffered a long history of civil war, political instability, and human rights abuses. The cry of the raped woman. The cry of the raped woman here symbolizes pain, helplessness, and the trauma experienced by victims of sexual violence. The idea of new islands. The idea of new islands is symbolic of regeneration and renewal. The new islands could metaphorically refer to new opportunities for growth, prosperity, and the flourishing of new civilizations or possibilities. The idea of new islands could symbolize the possibility of new beginnings, a new chapter for East Timor, or the hope for a better future. Thanks for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video.